Welcome to Fabric Monday. This week, this is a very special video because today we are completing the Fabric Monday 52. This means that we completed a total of 52 weeks of videos, one entire year of videos. Thank you very much for everyone that has been following our videos, and if you like, subscribe to our channel and check the videos since the beginning. I believe they are a great source of information about Microsoft Fabric. Let's jump to today's subject. We will be talking about managing shortcuts. Why is this important? Shortcuts is a very important piece of feature in Microsoft Fabric. I deliver some talks about how to implement data mesh in Fabric, and shortcuts are a core feature to allow this implementation. Besides that, there are many ways to use shortcuts to manage the expenses in relation to Fabric capacity. In this way, it's usual that we will manage a lot of shortcuts in our environment. We need to be sure the shortcuts are still valid and pointing to the right place. However, Fabric UI doesn't help too much about how to identify if a shortcut is pointing to the right place. After we create a shortcut, we can't really see exactly to where that shortcut is pointing. It's very difficult to identify that. So how can we manage shortcuts in this? Let's discover the secret. Here I have a Lakehouse. This Lakehouse is called Sales Lake API. What's important here is that I have 3 shortcuts inside this Lakehouse. How do I know where exactly the shortcuts are pointing to? If the shortcuts are pointing to the right location. We can use notebooks to manage that. Here I'm using the library Senpai Fabric. By using this library, I can manage many Fabric resources. Many. Workspace, like houses, listed items in a workspace, and so on. And I can also use this library to easily call APIs in Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric has APIs to manage shortcuts. For example, APIs to list shortcuts. Here I have an example of a partial address of an API to list a shortcut. Calling directly this API is not that easy because I would need to manage all the authentication process of the API. But using this library, we can do it in a very easy way. Check that. I'm using Fabric REST client. I'm creating an object called Fabric REST client. The parameters of the API are the workspace ID and the item ID. In this case, the Lakehouse, where I would like to check which shortcuts are present inside this Lakehouse. Then I define the URL using these parameters, the workspace ID and the item ID, and I make the call to the API. Client get URL. Just that. The authentication will be managed by the library. I get the result. And here I'm transforming the result in a data frame and displaying the result. Let's execute this notebook and check the result. Here is the result. This result is listing the 3 shortcuts that I have inside my Lakehouse. All of them are inside the tables area of the Lakehouse. They are pointing to one lake. Yes, you can create shortcuts pointing to other places, to Amazon S3, to Azure Blob Storage. These ones are pointing to one lake. And there is a target item ID, which item they are targeting, and the target workspace ID. which workspace they are targeting, and the path inside this item, which table they are referring to. In this case, the path of the shortcut. So in this way, we can check out the information of the shortcut. But this is still a bit complex. First, because I need to get the IDs of the workspace and the item to start this implementation. And then the result has the ID of an item and the ID of a workspace. This makes this result a bit complex. How do we solve this problem? How do we solve this? Let's see a different example, an improved example. In this second example, instead of using directly the workspace ID and the item ID of the objects, I'm using the name Sales API, and I'm looking for the Lakehouse, which is inside the Sales API workspace. Using the name and the type, if needed, then I can locate the workspace ID and the item ID. Check how I'm doing exactly using the Senpai Fabric library. So I list the workspaces and I use the query to filter the result of the list of the workspace only to Sales API. From this, I get the workspace ID, the specific workspace ID I need. Then I use list items on the Fabric object, filtering by the workspace ID, passing the workspace ID as parameter. But I know that the item that I'm looking for is the Lakehouse inside this workspace. So I already filter by the Lakehouse. And finally I get the item ID, which is the ID of the Lakehouse. After that, the rest of the code is similar. I have the item ID variable, the workspace ID variable. I generate the Fabric REST client, call the URL, get URL, build the URL use variable, and display the result. That's it. This time I'm using the names of the objects that I would like to check. Here is the result. Let's discover the result is similar to what we had before. The name, path, target type, item ID, target path, and workspace ID. The same, but this time I didn't use the starting IDs. I started from the names. Okay, but this is still requires some improvement because my result is still based on IDs, and this makes it very difficult to validate if these shortcuts are pointing to the right place. So I would like to translate these IDs to the actual name of the workspace and name of the object to where the shortcut is pointing to. How can I do that? Let's analyze a third version of this notebook. Here I have a third version of this notebook. The first part, retrieving the workspace ID and item ID by the name, continues to be the same. The starting of the second part, build the URL, call the URL using the client, and normalizing to a data frame is similar to what we had. But this time I want to go further. I want to retrieve the names of the objects, not only the IDs. How can I do that? In this case, I need to get the resulting data frame from this first call and join with additional information. I need to retrieve this additional information using the Senpai Fabric library. A list of workspace, a list for objects inside the workspace, and then translate the IDs. The exact algorithm to do that can vary a lot, and it depends on the preference of everyone. So what is done on the other steps? They are required to retrieve a list of workspaces and a list of items inside the workspace. The retrieval of a list of items is inside this function that I used here. One detail that I used in this algorithm to make it lighter was to filter. This is, for example, what I'm doing here. I'm defining a condition, making a filter on a data frame. Based on that, inside this data frame, the ID of the workspace is on a list of existing workspace, which I retrieved from the shortcut list. This algorithm seems a bit complex, but the point is you don't need to handle it every time. Once you have your solution, you can use your solution all the time to manage your shortcuts. Of course, this notebook is a very simplified version, getting a shortcuts fixed related to one specific lakehouse. But this is a starting point that you can use to improve this way more. And here is the result. Now the result is not based on IDs anymore, not only on IDs. So I have the workspace ID, true, but I have the workspace name. And I have the item ID, true, but I have the item name. So I have the name of the workspace and items to where the shortcut is pointing. All the items are the same because this is the name of the lakehouse. The object path completes the final path to where the shortcut is pointing. So I can confirm if the shortcut is pointing to the correct location or not, or if this shortcut needs some maintenance, needs to be rebuilt. Thank you very much for watching and see you next week.